Hi, boys and girls. For our Bible lesson today, we're going to use our book, Tell About Jesus. And now in your packets that you guys are going to get in the next few days, I put this book in everybody's packet. This doesn't mean you have to do extra homework, but this is a great tool for you to use when we talk about the Bible or just to look at or read the stories, because that's such an important part of our education. So this one is Tell About Jesus, and we just celebrated on Sunday. We celebrated Easter. I know Easter was a little different for most people. It was different in my family too. We watched TV on church. We still ate the same kinds of foods and had some of the same kinds of candy, but it was different because I usually spend it with all of my family who lives in Iowa, but I couldn't do that this year. We did get to do a Zoom call, so I got to see everybody, but it was a little different. But it was still Easter, where we celebrate when Jesus overcame death and rose from the dead. I know on Good Friday we talked about Jesus dying on the cross, and now we're celebrating because 3 days later he rose from the dead. So I'm going to read this story that is in the book. It's the first one. It's called Jesus Rises from the Dead. And you can see there's 3 women here, and it's kind of done like a play. So I'll tell you who is talking each time I read. So the narrator. Remember we talked about narrators before when we were in school? The narrator is the person who explains what the story is and what's going on. So the narrator, their first voice is, early on Sunday morning, some women went to Jesus' tomb. They were going to put spices on Jesus' body, because Jesus was buried on Friday, on Good Friday, but they were kind of in a rush because they were celebrating their Sabbath or their holy day, and they needed to get done quickly so that they wouldn't be doing work on that day. So they were coming back on Sunday after the holy day was over to finish what they started on Friday. Mary Magdalene, who was a follower of Jesus, said, "How are we going to roll the heavy stone from the entrance? If we can't push it away, we won't be able to anoint Jesus' body." Anoint means putting the spices or some oil on his body, which is what they did at those times with people who had died. Now the narrator says, but when they got there, they saw the stone was already rolled away. They went into Jesus' tomb and saw a man dressed in a white robe. Mary Magdalene said, "Where is our Lord's body?" Now the man in the white robe, who was an angel, said, "Don't be scared. You are looking for Jesus, who was crucified, but he is not here. He has been raised from the dead. Look at where his body was laid, but he came back to life. Go quickly and tell the disciples that he's been raised from the dead. You will see your Lord in Galilee." The women said, "Quick, let's go." Then the narrator says, the women ran as fast as they could to the disciples. They were trembling and frightened, but also very happy and amazed. The women said, "Jesus is alive. God raised him from the dead." The disciples said, "That's impossible. He couldn't be alive again. He's been dead for 3 days." The women said, "It's true." Now, as the narrator, I would say the disciples were hopeful, but they still didn't believe what the women said. They wondered how it could be. Peter ran to Jesus' tomb to see for himself. Remember, Peter was one of Jesus' disciples. Peter said, "It's empty. Look here at the cloths that were wrapped around his body. It must be true. Jesus has risen from the dead." So again, we can look at this picture, and there's the women talking to the angel. And they're carrying their oil and their spices that they were going to anoint Jesus' body with. When they found he wasn't there, they wanted to tell everybody. We'll talk more tomorrow about another story when Jesus appeared to another woman and told her that he was raised from the dead. Thanks, boys and girls. We'll talk to you tomorrow.